everybody, thank you for joining us for another Let's Paint Live, where we teach you how to paint a painting in just about an hour. Tonight we will be painting Peachy Peacock, which is a really cute spring painting just in time for spring. We really appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. Like always, we will be using our Folk Art Let's Paint Live kit, which comes with a great assortment of folk art acrylic paint and a 10-piece artist variety brush set. So that's what we're going to be painting with tonight. I want to introduce Stephen White. He's going to be moderating our paint night tonight. So if you have any questions or comments throughout our live stream, make sure to comment them down below, and we will comment on your comments and answer some of your questions.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's jump right into it, you guys. So tonight we were going to be painting with an 11 by 14 canvas. We switched it up a little bit, so we're going to be using this 16 by 20. But that's one of the great things about this painting, is that it's so versatile. You can really use any sized canvas to achieve the look of our painting tonight. Like I said, we're going to be working with our Folk Art Let's Paint Live kit. So I have my 10-piece artist variety brush set, a pencil, some palette paper to place our paint on, a water basin. We're also going to be using our special guest paint. This is our Folk Art Treasure Gold in the color Copper. If you've never heard of Treasure Gold before, it is a really stunning metallic paint that gives a mirror-like effect to your paintings and your art projects. I love this paint because it is so metallic, and it's also water-based, made right here in the USA. So the great thing about that is that if you are familiar with metallic paints, then you know sometimes they can be a little bit fumey, but this is water-based. There's no odor. You don't have to worry about any kind of PPE while you're working with it. You can work with it anywhere. So we love Treasure Gold. We also have a pattern for you to print tonight. So if you go to plaidonline.com and you go to this project listing, then you'll see the whole supply list and also this free downloadable pattern that you can print right at home to work with tonight. Some scissors, paper towels, and then the specific paints we're going to be working with from our Let's Paint Live kit are True Blue, Wicker White, Classic Green, Daffodil Yellow, Baby Pink, and Aqua. And then last but not least, we have our Plaid multi-use heat gun. We're going to be doing a little bit of drying with the heat gun throughout our painting, so this is going to be really great to have on hand. I love this tool for drying all of my acrylic paint. It dries really nicely, and I like that you can kind of target exactly where you want to dry your painting, which is really helpful for bigger paintings like this. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do is I'm going to grab my pattern that, again, you can find on plaidonline.com, and I'm going to cut out the black lines of the silhouette that's going to make up our peacock.
Yeah, and like Emma mentioned before, you can find the link to this project on our website in the description of wherever you're watching from. So if you're on YouTube, you can find it in the description below. If you're on Facebook, same deal.
Great. Alrighty. So now that we've gone ahead and cut out our peacock silhouette, I'm going to place it like so, right in the center of our canvas. So we want to have enough room. You can see I'm putting it almost in like the upper left quadrant of our canvas here, because we want the body of the peacock to be taking up most of the space of the bottom right of our canvas. So maybe I'll even put it a little bit further up. That's perfect. So now I'm going to take my pencil, and all I'm going to do is trace our design. Make sure you get his little beak. All right, so now it should look a little bit like that. You're maybe wondering where the rest of the body of the peacock is. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna follow the natural direction of the body of our peacock and just follow that down our canvas. So you see it kind of curves here, flows to the bottom. We're gonna repeat that same process, curving down a little bit and following that side. But it doesn't have to be identical to mine. You can really make it however you want. That's another great thing about this painting. All right, so next up, we're gonna start doing a little bit of paint mixing. So I'm taking my baby pink and my daffodil yellow, and with these two colors, we're gonna mix a 2-to-1 ratio, 2 parts baby pink to 1 part daffodil yellow. I'm grabbing my 3/4 inch flat brush. This is a brand new brush. There's nothing better than a brand new brush. Make sure you get some of the binding off. I just run it through your fingers. And then I'm going to use our flat brush to mix these two colors until they are really well combined. Can you guess what color they're gonna make, Stephen?
I would assume that they're going to make some sort of tangerine, orangish yellow.
Or that could also be called
I have no idea.
Peachy Peacock, Stephen.
Oh, you're right. You're so right.
So this is gonna mix together to be a really beautiful peach color. All right, it's looking good. So taking this peach color that we just mixed, I am going to kind of do a slip slapping technique all across the outside of our peacock.
Are we super worried about if we paint over the lines that we've sketched out?
That's a great question, Stephen. So right now I'm avoiding those lines, but once we drive a little bit closer, I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to attack that process of our painting. All right, so we're getting a little bit closer, and I'm just really gonna carefully follow the silhouette of our peacock. And the great thing about this is that yellow is notorious for not being the most opaque color in the color spectrum, just meaning that it doesn't have the most hide. But we're using that to our advantage because once we paint a light coat of this peachy color over our lines, we can still kind of see the lines. So even if you get a little bit over your pencil lines, do not fret. Okay, and if you've painted with me before, work smarter, not harder. I'm gonna flip my canvas around so that we can paint this upper half a little bit more easily. So if you're new and you're joining us for the first time tonight, welcome. We're thrilled to have you here. If you're unfamiliar with our Let's Paint Live program, it is a program where the first Thursday of every month, we teach you how to paint a painting in just about an hour. And the beauty of our Let's Paint Live program is that it is geared towards all skill levels. So if you're a beginner painter, intermediate, a little bit more advanced, everyone can join in and have fun. And I've heard from a lot of our viewers And actually, just personally, as somebody who has painted along with some of the other artists' paintings in our Let's Paint Live program, I always walk away learning something new. So that's really the beauty of this program. We have a wide variety of instructors who teach our classes. Andy Jones, Jesse Jennings, Kirsten Jones, Chris Williams, lots of different folks who share their love of painting. And you always walk away with a really beautiful painting that you can be proud of.
Emma, we've got Marisol from Mississippi, and they say they love the color.
Good. I love this color too. Okay, folks. So I'm flipping it back around. Don't rinse your brush yet. I'm gonna just set it right here on my palette, and I'm gonna introduce some of our wicker white to the palette. And as you can see, I have not rinsed my brush yet. What I'm gonna do is just dip the very tip of my brush that much into my wicker white, and I'm gonna start to do kind of a cross-hatching pattern, and that means I'm moving my brush in an X direction. So I'm brushing this way, then I'm brushing that way, kind of interrupting the natural pattern of the direction that we're placing the paint down, if that makes sense. And if you'll notice, it's really just making this peach color a little bit lighter in some areas, which is really creating some depth and interest in our painting. And if you want to do this technique in your own personal paintings, it's important to remember that this works best when the first layer of paint on your painting is still wet. So you don't want to wait for that peach color to dry before you start doing this cross-hatching pattern, because essentially we're blending the paint on the canvas instead of, like, you know, on your palette paper or something. And we're not totally drenching our brush in that wicker white. Remember, we're only introducing the white to the very tip of our brush. Another good thing to know is if you feel like you're adding too much white to your background, then you can just go in with more of that peachy color and balance it out.
Yeah, it feels really simple what you just did, but it adds a ton of nice texture
right?
to it.
It really gives it a lot of dimension. All right, so now we're going to get ready to go ahead and rinse your brush. And now I'm going to grab my pencil again.
Emma, I think we've got some people here who are just joining us, so I wanted to mention, if you missed the beginning, you can find the pattern on our website, and the link to that is in the description below. If you just see that yellow emoji in the description, there should be a link that'll take you straight to it.
Perfect. All right, so what I'm going to do with my pencil is you can kind of see a clear start and finish from the peacock's head to the beak. So I'm just creating one line there. All right. And starting at the tip of our beak, we're going to follow the natural curvature of the top half of our beak. So kind of like this. And I'm going to follow that all the way towards the head. So you can see we're like mirroring that curve of the beak, and then we take a little bit of an arch right up there. Simple. All right, right under the arch, we're going to create an almond shape. So that's one curve up top and mirrored one curve at the bottom. Below that, we're going to mirror the bottom curve like so. Hit it with a hard line here, a shorter hard line here, and then connect these with a curve. All right, and then we're going to start this line a little bit above that curved line that you made segmenting the beak, and we're going to follow this curve, going a little bit above it. We're mirroring that curve, going a little bit farther down, ending it there. All right, we're cooking, you guys. I'm gonna add some true blue to our palette. And I'm going to take my 1/2 inch flat brush. I'm gonna dip it in my true blue, and I am going to start to paint the neck of our peacock. Just following those pattern lines. All right, as we get a little bit closer to the head of our peacock, I am going to not rinse our 1/2 inch flat brush just yet. I'm going to set it aside just because I want to go in with a smaller flat brush to get some more precision when we're painting the blue up top here. So to the right of the beak, we're going to continue with our true blue, painting right around those pencil lines that we sketched in earlier. Does it look like a peacock yet, Steven?
I think it does. I think it did a long time ago too. I was just about to say that Brenda said that was an excellent drawing of its facial features.
Nice. I hope it was easy enough for you guys. Drawing is really essentially just a bunch of simple lines. And once you know how to form them together, it becomes a lot easier. Okay, so now I'm going to rinse this number 2 flat. And I'm going to pick back up our 1/2-inch flat brush. You can see it's not been rinsed yet, but before I do that, I'm going to add to our palette some aqua. You guys are pros at this already, so very similar to how we did the background of our peacock. I'm going to dip the very tip of my 1/2-inch flat into my aqua, and we're going to do another kind of blend now in the body of our peacock. And I think our true blue started to dry a little bit while we were painting in the details of our peacock, but that's okay. I'm kind of glad that's happening so I can show you guys how to work with that. So I'm still introducing some more aqua into the head and the body of our peacock. But just to keep things flowing, I'm going to also be introducing some of that true blue. So again, going in with just a little bit of aqua, and now I'm working it into that wet true blue so that it blends really beautifully and seamlessly like we want. And if you apply some aqua and you're like, oh no, that was way too much, just keep working it. If you keep going back and forth, you're going to see that the colors will really start to blend together and it won't look so drastic. All right. We're doing well so far, guys. So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to start to paint in the body of our peacock. So I'm going to go ahead and rinse my 1/2-inch flat. And dry it with a paper towel. And we're going to start to paint in some of the feathers of our peacock. So now to my palette, I'm going to add some classic green. And in segments, I am going to kind of paint like little patches of our classic green onto our peacock. They don't have to be in any specific sort of shape. I'm going to paint them right up to the body of our peacock. One there. But I do want them to be kind of random. And you kind of see too, the angle that I'm painting is following the body of the peacock. So because the feathers of the peacock trail this way naturally. And you don't have to have super clean lines coming off of the peacock. If it looks a little bit brushstrokey and natural, I think it adds to the overall look of the painting. But yeah, we're just painting little patches of the classic green onto our bird here. All right, so once you've gone ahead and painted all of your green patches, I'm not going to rinse my brush. I do have a little bit of paint on the brush. I don't want my brush to be very loaded with paint, so I'm just going to wipe some of that excess paint off onto my palette, and I'm going to, again, can you guys guess? With the very tip of my brush, I'm going to introduce a little bit of that wicker white, and I'm going to go in introducing some of that white into our classic green. If there's too much white, add more green. If there's too much green, add more white until you're happy with the way the colors are looking. Okay, next I'm going to rinse my brush. And we're going to repeat a very similar process, but now we're going to go ahead and paint in little aqua patches. And we don't want to leave any white space, so I'm going to be overlapping some of this green. Some patches can be bigger, some can be smaller, totally up to you.
Yeah, no two peacocks look exactly the same.
Exactly. You can connect some spaces if you want. That would be pretty cool. But I am keeping in mind that we only have really one more color section to fill in. So by the time we're done with our aqua, we want to be, 2/3 done. All right, same deal. I'm gonna dip a little bit of my wicker white, and I'm gonna blend that in with my aqua. So, once you really start to practice this wet on wet blending technique, you'll start to notice that the more you go back and forth over a section, most likely the more blended your colors will be. So I'll try to show you guys an example in this section. So to the left here, I'm going to introduce some white and I'm really going to blend it. I'm going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So really, we're just kind of introducing a new color. There's not much dimension to it. Now it's just a lighter aqua. But I'll show you guys to the right of that. I'm just going to go back and forth, 1, 2, 1, 2. You see you kind of have more detail, or not detail, but just more dimension. It looks more brush strokey, it looks more broken. And whether or not you want it to look more blended or more broken, it's really your choice as the artist. But I just wanted to demonstrate that for you guys so that you can kind of achieve the look that you are wanting to get. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay, so I'm not going to rinse my brush yet. I am going to take a little scoop of my aqua with my brush here and a little scoop of my wicker white, just about 50-50. I'm going to blend those two together. You know what? Scratch that 50-50 business. 2 parts white to 1 part aqua.
Oh, it's getting serious.
Yeah, it is. Break out your calculators, people. Just kidding. I'm mixing in white until we get a really nice light aqua. Once your aqua is really starting to lighten up, I'm going to take just a dab of our classic green and mix that into this as well. And we're going to get a really pretty minty color. Okay, and then kind of wipe some of that excess paint from mixing off. And with this color, we're going to fill in those white spaces in our peacock's feathers. And again, we're not making perfect squares. Once you brush up, you're going to get a kind of feathered look to your stroke. We're brushing up, you see that the paint kind of trails off, creating that feathered look. So use that to your advantage to create this really choppy, textured look. It's like a ball gown.
Yeah, definitely is. It's about to get way more extravagant too.
My prom dress was this color.
Is that a joke or was that?
No, it was this mint color.
I thought you were gonna say it wasn't that peach color.
No.
I'm like, that is bold.
Yeah.
It's a statement.
I wasn't that bold in high school. All right, same deal, introducing some white.
I like that that's kind of a motif through this painting is you lay down the base color and then you just introduce white in that slip slap pattern you're talking about.
Yeah, it's super, super easy. I love this technique. It just creates a really beautiful texture. Last little section. All right, it's looking good so far. Okay, so now is really the time where if you want to go back and add more green or more aqua, feel absolutely free to do that now. What we're going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more wicker white to my palette. And I'm going to pick up that teeny tiny little flat brush that we were working with before. This is our number 2 flat. And I'm going to add white to the beak. I'm going to erase some of those really extra pencil lines that I decided to create. And I'm going to paint the beak with our wicker white. I know you're thinking, Emma, it was white before. Why are you painting it white? This is just really to create some cohesiveness amongst the painting. And we're going to kind of try to achieve a little bit of a feathered effect below his eye. And we need to introduce some white to keep the white going. I'll show you what I mean.
I'm glad you answered that question before I could ask it.
Yeah. I know you were thinking it, Stephen.
You know me.
All right, so now we kind of talked a little bit about creating that feathered look when you're brushing and you kind of are swinging your brush like a pendulum. Once you come up, you create that feathered effect. So we're going to keep that in practice down here, ruffling his feathers, if you will. So we create that feathered look coming off there. Okay, rinse this brush. While we're at it and we're working with our white, I'm going to take a really small liner brush. This is actually a spotter brush. It's a really thin brush, but you can pick up whatever kind of brush you feel like you have a lot of control with. I'm going to dip it into my wicker white, and starting from the back of his head, I'm going to create these long lines, these long thin lines. All in a row, kind of like in a fan. And I'm going to create some different heights. I'm going to make some lines longer, some lines shorter. Just have fun with it. Like so. All right, I'm going to rinse my spotter brush.
It's looking especially regal now. It's got its crown.
Yeah, I agree. All right, I'm going to take my heat gun and I'm going to dry the head of our peacock. Really quick. All right, I'm going to take my spotter brush, dip it into my true blue, and we are going to follow that pencil line that separates the two halves of our beak right before we get to that white line that we created. Okay? And then on the upper half of the beak, I'm just going to do a couple strokes like that. Okay. Continuing with our small spotter brush, inside the almond shape of our peacock that we created with the white, we're going to go in with a smaller one with our true blue. All right. Now on the crown, we're going to add some true blue to every couple of lines like that. I'm going to rinse my brush, and I'm going to do the same deal with aqua. Like that. All right, I'm going to rinse my spotter brush again. Now we're going to be using a round brush. So this is a number 5 round. I'm going to dip it into that true blue. And we're going to create some detail to the feathers. So I'm just patting down, creating these spots on the body of our bird. Again, kind of trying to mimic the curvature of the feathers here. Okay, so before I rinse my round brush, I'm going to offload some of that, and I'm going to dip the tip into some wicker white, and I'm going to go over those blue lines, introducing a little bit of that white, just giving a little bit of texture to these dots.
Emma, you've got lots of compliments on this peacock.
Nice.
Marina says, "Oh my, this is so pretty." Christine says, "So cute." We got a YouTube comment that says, "I love this painting." Zach says, "Very beautiful."
Nice. Well, thank you guys. I promise it's very easy to do. And if you enjoy watching this one, make sure to check out our Let's Paint page. Go to plaidonline.com/Let's Paint, or go to our Plaid Crafts YouTube channel, and you can have loads of fun with all of our other Let's Paint paintings as well. And thanks for tuning in. Okay, so I'm going to rinse my round brush. And I'm going to go back to my heat gun and dry some of these polka dots or stripes or hash marks. right, you guys, the star of the show. Can I get a drum roll, Steven? Thank you. Okay, now we're going to be using our Folk Art Treasure Gold in the color Copper. If you are just tuning in, Treasure Gold is a really amazing metallic paint. It has a really beautiful kind of mirror-like quality to it. And we're going to use it to add some highlight to our painting here. Ooh, got some paint on my finger. All right, I'm going to take a small round brush here. I'm going to dip it into the Treasure Gold, and we're going to just add some metallic spots all over our peacock's feathers. I wish I had metallic spots.
It'd be nice, wouldn't it?
It would.
It'd be so reflective.
Uh-huh. Why are you thinking about the utility of the metallic spots?
Like you could walk around at night, like
Yeah.
you wouldn't have to wear like reflective vests if you go
That's true.
jogging or anything,
Yeah,
you know?
that's true.
If like golden hour, the sun hits you, you're always shimmering.
I was thinking for like more aesthetic purposes, what it would be like to have metallic spots, but I guess, yeah,
It's form and function.
that's very true, Stephen. You
Yeah.
got me there. Just kind of following in line with the blue dots that we created earlier. I'm going to add a little bit of highlight to the eye of our peacock, and lastly to our spots up here. It's looking pretty good. There's one last thing to do. I'm going to dip back into my true blue, but you can choose any color you want. And in the bottom right corner, don't forget to always sign your painting. And with that, we have a peachy peacock. So thank you guys so much for tuning in with us tonight. Like always, if you want to go back and catch some parts that maybe you missed, you can find this right here on Facebook. You can go back and rewind, fast forward, pause if you need to. Also go to Plaid Crafts on our YouTube page to do the same. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to join us next month, same place, same time, the first Thursday of next month, where we will be instructing another painting. So yeah, thank you guys very much for tuning in. We will see you next time. Bye guys.